Good morning. Welcome. I have another special guest with us today, and this is Lori Taylor of the Taylor Group and here at Coldwell Banker. So we're just going to talk real estate, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So why don't you start off with telling us a little bit about yourself, Lori?
So we are a team here at Coldwell Banker Advantage. We have, I think we formed the team back in 2020, and we've been in with Coldwell Banker for going on 4 years now. And we have a team of 4 people, me, my husband, and 2 other agents. And, we're just doing it every day.
Okay. So real estate team, a lot of, our audience is could be potentially clients or people looking to get into real estate, or maybe somebody thinking about a team. If you don't know, most of the time, people join real estate as an independent, and is that how you got started?
I actually got started on
basically like a leader.
No. I got started back in 2019. I joined a high producing team here in Fayetteville. I learned how to, be an agent from that team. So from there, I moved firms, and I ended up after maybe about a year after that, going out on my own and creating a team and creating an actual business through it.
So let me ask you, being on a team, so you were on a team, so you started on a team.
Yes.
You were independent, and then you said, I'm going to do my own team.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a couple questions. Let's talk about being on a team. Why would a real estate agent want to be on a team versus independent?
It's more like for guidance, I would say. When you're new and you really don't have a good concept of how things work, it's getting that guidance and expertise of people that know the business. And it's also for, you're just trying to get your foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? Okay. You're trying to get the experience that you need where you're no longer considered a new agent. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's more like having the support and the guidance that you need from somebody that's been in it for a period of time, and it's helpful.
So it's like an extra layer of support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are there negatives to it?
There are some negatives. I mean, sometimes the splits can be really high depending on who you go with.
Yeah. Because you not only does that team have a split with their firm.
Yeah.
That agent's got to split with their team. So
correct, and with the firm. So there's like multiple layers of splits that goes on with the team, the firm, your transaction fees. That's one of the negatives. And you just really got to make sure that you pick the right team, because if you pick a team that you don't mesh with, then that can cause an environment that you don't want to be in.
I always say, in almost all of my videos, I bring this up, is that, 70% of new agents get out of the business. And I usually attribute that to training.
Absolutely.
Right. Sometimes that's the individual, sometimes sales wasn't for me, etc. But I usually attribute that to some sort of a training lack of, whether it's a firm or something like that. So there may be a case where somebody joins maybe the wrong team and the wrong firm together, and it's a compounding effect, and wow, real estate's not for me.
Yep.
So there's some positives and minuses to it. What would you say to somebody that was like maybe a new agent and they just got the real estate license, generic firm in mind? Should I join a team or not?
I would say do your homework. I would say talk to people that are on teams versus independents, and see how they struggled at the very beginning, because I guarantee you that they did.
Yeah.
And I would say really do your homework before you decide to go with a firm, and make sure that the firm is going to be a good fit. Those are the mistakes that I made at the very beginning. Not necessarily joining a team, because honestly and truly, I would not be where I'm at today without being on a team and learning.
For your path, being on a team to start with, it seems like you look at that as a great positive.
It was a great positive, and so, I didn't stay with the team very long, but they're the ones that formed what I am today. Mm-hmm. So I knew going in it, when I looked at, the team leaders on that team, that's where I want to be at. Yeah. And that was the mindset that I had. So I would say that, do your homework, really look at what the firms offer, whether or not. The most important thing to me is not the cuts. The most important thing to me was, do I mesh well with the firm?
That's an interesting concept, before we move on, is you mentioned the cuts or the splits, and they vary
They do.
And between inside firms, when you put teams in it, outside of firms, some firms have super high, super low, some are in the middle. You could go to a different city in the country and the average split's a 50. And then you go to a different city where the average split is just a flat transaction fee. And I agree with you. I think it's important not to get, at least initially, too wrapped up in what the split is, more focused on learning.
Absolutely. And I've been with the firms that have, I've been with the high ones and I've been with the low ones. And honestly and truly, it's about the environment to me. If you're not in a good environment, you're not going to be successful. And you're not in a comfortable environment, even with a team, you are not going to be successful. And that's just the way that it is.
Okay. So back to your course and your path is, so you were on a team. You got off of the team. You went independent. Now, at this time, if you don't know, her husband, Max, is also a realtor with us as well. Max wasn't in real estate yet, though.
No, I got in real estate in 2019. He got in real estate, I want to say in 2020, a year after me. And that was because he got so jealous from me having those wonderful conversations with our buyers and our sellers. Hey, you just got under contract, that he wanted to have that feeling too.
So you say, okay, I'm done with the team. I'm going back independent. Used it as a catalyst for change as well. Change firms, went independent. All right, so let's dissect that a little bit. Being an independent agent benefits.
Being an independent agent, you can make your own decisions. It's just a whole new world out there as an independent, especially if you have experience. So you don't have the extra cuts that you have on a team.
So potentially per deal, I can make more?
Yep.
Okay.
You could make more. And it depends on where your cuts are at with the firm as well, right? So, but you can make more money as being an independent versus on a team. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest.
Yeah.
But as an independent, you still have to have certain support systems in place to help you through a transaction. If you're a high producing agent, there's no, a lot of agents struggle with like having transactions being helped, getting help with transactions and things like that because they're so busy here that they can't focus on here. So if you're busy here, you can't focus on the paperwork. So you still have to have that support system in place.
So back to like what some of the benefits of being on a team is, the extra support, whether it's, I've seen teams grow and have totally different kinds of structures, so to speak, where I've seen a group of people that are just friends and they like each other and they're on a team. I've seen people that are very on the other end of the spectrum as what I call like a leads heavy team. Like we're generating leads for you. You close them, you're good. You stop closing them, you're off. Wow. That's one end of the spectrum. So teams can take a lot of different.
There's different rules, different forms, different things that they offer. It's all up there. And that's where you get the difference of like, what you pay on a team. So if you go on a team and they're high producing and they're focusing only on, I'm throwing all these leads at you, of course you're going to pay more. And so
but on the flip side, you're going to be paying more, but you're going to be closing more
deals.
You're going to have a good pipeline of leads. That you're going to be able to work. You always have something to do. Somebody to call. Okay. All right. So you decided I'm going to start a team. Did you and Max decide that, or was that before Max got in?
No, it was actually when Max got in. So Max has kind of pushed me in that direction. Having a team wasn't really something that I wanted to do, because, yes, I created Taylor Group Realty, but it was meant originally for just me and Max, for tax purposes and things like that. So Max is the one that, was the driving force behind creating the team. And we have just built it beyond that. It's become, we're a small team, but, the closeness that we have with our team has gone way, exceeded my expectations in a big way.
Yeah, so you've got you and Max and two other people you said on the team, and everything shows you guys are just cooking, feeling great, got a good dynamic going on. I think that's really important. Like when we talk about firms, it's the same as the team. The culture of the team is very important.
Absolutely. Just like the culture of the firm, the culture of the team is just as important. If you do not mesh well, it's not going to be helpful. So you really have to have that good support system, and you have to have good members on your team.
It's like any other business, really. You hire employees, and some don't work out. Some are not a good fit. Some are oh my God, don't you ever leave. I swear to God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
So running a team, anybody that's thinking about that, like, is it, and a lot of people think of like starting a team as the next level. Do you look at it like that?
No, I don't look at it as the next level. I look at it as an opportunity for you to support other people.
Okay.
You know, I don't look at it as the next level at all. I mean, I really look at it as, you're growing a family within a family.
Yeah.
If you have a firm that, you're calling home with your team, you're growing a family within a family. So you have this close-knit group of people that you can rely on and have the support, and they grow to support each other.
Yeah.
They become friends. To me, it's not a next level thing for me. It's
Okay.
not.
Maybe just a parallel path.
I think a parallel path.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people push to create a team. I think a lot of people do it to thinking that they're going to make more money doing it. And I just don't think that's the case.
I think one of probably the hardest parts about a team, whether it's a firm level team or a real estate team, is people management.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have made a lot of mistakes with that.
We've all made mistakes in leadership positions.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know of any leader of anything that's like, hey, I've never made a mistake.
I mean, sometimes, because, you get calls and people want guidance, and, I've always considered myself a magnet for all the bad things that happen in real estate, so I've learned a lot in my short 6 years of experience. So I've learned a lot. And so I'm able to answer most questions. But when those questions come up, it's one of those things where you're like, God, they come up at a really bad time, and somebody needs help like right then.
Oh, I see they usually come in waves. They're like,
they do
3 or 4 problems in one day, and then 3 or 4 weeks of no problems.
Yeah, they all come up, and you're like, so it's one of those things where, you're going to make mistakes, and it's really going to suck at first, when you're trying to, get a handle on it, and you've got to be very upfront with your agents. And that's one of the things that I struggled with at the beginning, is being upfront and, sticking to my expectations and things like that. But I have learned over the years that being upfront and, to the point is the way to go, because I want that from my agents,
I agree with you 100% when I'm dealing with a not so pretty situation, regardless what it is. I've always found that for one, it doesn't go away.
No.
Like thinking about it and sitting on them, we obviously have to put thought and do the right thing for people, but sitting around and thinking about it and hoping something will go away never does.
Nope.
They only grow.
Yeah.
They only grow worse. Getting right in front of them and having a face-to-face conversation and, dissecting it on the spot, I found is always it's helped me.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even imagine being in your position, because you basically are running a gigantic team, right?
Yeah.
And I'm running just 4 people to include myself.
Yeah.
And there's times where I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot, just with 4 people. Yeah. And you've got mountains of people.
Yeah. Sometimes I've got, like I said, several issues and problems sitting on the desk right now. And there's a good example. Team leader, it's buzzing. She's like, hey, Lori, it's all good. It's all good. This is unfiltered. But where I've had a lot of things at once where they're all critical, to people. I try to always remember that the problem that somebody's experiencing right now is very important, very critical to them right now. And sometimes you've got to never put anything on the back burner, but sometimes you got to prioritize, triage, so to speak, your problems. And then again, sometimes I'm like staring at the wall and like, we got no problems going on right now. It's awesome. But I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed from dealing with issues and problems is that it's always a really good indication of the market. When I've got a lot of things on my desk, so to speak, usually people are out hustling and selling.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
But that's also another point about an individual team, because as you mentioned, I'm the broker in charge of the firm. So I run, in essence, I'm a team leader of a really big team.
Yeah.
And very much try to have personal relationships with everybody. But sometimes you can't, or sometimes you miss something that on an emotional level you should have addressed or talked about. And that's also another benefit of a team sometimes, is that you're kind of hyper focused a little bit more.
You are.
The day-to-day of a firm doesn't. So you get to make a better relationship. And so that's why, people ask me, I'm thinking about joining a team. I always ask why. Why are you thinking about joining the team? What are you looking for? And sometimes the answer is, I just want that much more eyes on what I'm doing, that much more wisdom and input. Sometimes people say, I was hoping to get some leads. And then I have a conversation with those people too and say, that's not necessarily a given. And that shouldn't.
That should not be
in my opinion, the motivation to join the team.
I totally agree. If somebody come to me and ask me to join my team and I ask them the reason why they wanted to join it and they say leads, then that's a no.
A lot of people automatically assume because you're a high producing team, you know, we all have our ebbs and flows in the market, but the Taylor Group is a high producing team. Do you feel like that attracts people sometimes that just want to be on your team because they want a piece of it?
I think so. You know, I have had people come to me and ask me to join and say that, you know, they want leads and they want to be part of the production. And, you know, especially the new people that just got their license. So, you know, those individuals, you know, I'm like, well, you know, you shouldn't be joining a team just for leads.
Yeah.
Because when an agent, I don't care if they have 5 years experience, their first couple of transactions, I'm monitoring to make sure they're good. If they have questions, I'll go on their SkySlope. I'll check their paperwork, make sure they're good, just to make sure that they're doing things the right way and not learning them the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So, but joining a team just for leads is not the ticket. Yeah. It's not, because you're not guaranteed that. Yeah.
So maybe some tough talk here, but you know, that person that's been in the business a little while and maybe is lagging a little bit behind where they want to be or where the industry standard is, right? The industry standard's 1 a month. You know, that's what's considered a productive agent. And there's been a sustained amount of time that they've been in the business, and now they're like, okay, I need to go join a team. It's usually, to me, a red flag.
I agree.
Because even though some team structures have a lead system, you've demonstrated that you don't have the drive to do the prospect, because being on a team doesn't mean you stop prospecting and stop growing your business, right?
No, you got to be in it. I mean, you have to live, breathe, sleep real estate. And I knew that from the very beginning when I first joined the team, and I looked at those team leaders and said, that's where I want to be. You got to have that mindset. And if you don't have that mindset, you're not going to make it. Team or not.
Team or not. Yeah, absolutely. Great point. I agree with you 100% there that you've got to have it. And I think, you know, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, unfortunately, people have a very wrong impression of how the real estate business works. And they don't realize it until they've gone through school, got the background check, got the license, joined a firm, and then they're like, wait a second, there's nobody walking around with a book of leads to give me?
Yeah.
Like, I got to go talk to people?
That's
what I feel like one of the biggest misconceptions about the business and temporal team side is that if now you can learn too, but if you can't talk to somebody and you can't get off your butt and get out of the house and go stir up some business one way or the other, then you're not going to make it in real estate.
No. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of people that come out of real estate thinking, oh, it's so easy what they do. It's not easy. And real estate is not for the faint of heart. It's not.
It's funny. I remember to that point, I remember when I first started real estate, I was looking at firms and talking to people. And there was a marketing campaign for new agents at a certain firm that was like, you can make 6 figures working 6 hours a week. And I thought, that seems too good to be true. Luckily, I had my young Mike Solomon mind had enough wisdom in there to say, wait a second, that doesn't make sense, because then everybody would be doing it. It would be the biggest kept secret in the world, right? And it's not. You got to put in, you got to have
sunrise to sundown. I mean, sometimes I've worked until midnight at night, working on offers, working on listing agreements. I mean, it's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
This is your business. You have to treat your business like a business. And, you know, a lot of people cut off at 5 o'clock in the evening. I wish I was able to do that. I can't. You know, I've got agents calling me, you know, asking me for help. I've got people calling, texting, all hours of night. Sometimes people are from another country, you know.
Well, that brings a question. Let me ask, you know, again, thinking about somebody starting real estate is, hey, I want to join it for the flexibility.
Yeah, there's no flexibility. I mean, I have flexibility where, you know, at a certain time of day, I can go pick up my son from school, you know, but while I'm sitting there, I'm still working. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when I pick up my son, I've got to go straight to a closing or a showing, whatever. Technically, I guess you can make up your own hours, but your hours are not based on you. your hours are based on that buyer or that seller, because that sale is about them.
Yeah.
It's not about you. This whole process of real estate is about that client,
So maybe
not about you.
Maybe a little trash talk, man. Obviously, would never say anybody's names or anything. I can't think of a particular name on this area anyway. But I've called brokers before and got a voicemail message that says, I'm unavailable right now. You are past my working hours, and it's like 5 or 6 p.m. I will get your call the next business day. And I think sometimes, I've been through phases in my career too. Okay, good for them, and they got it going on.
Nice, but nice.
But I don't think that's reality.
It's not, because you have people that what about the people that work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and are only available after 5 p.m. or are only available on the weekends?
Yeah.
What about those people? What about the people that are 8 hours ahead of us in the time zone, or even 3 hours behind us in the time zone? You have to be flexible for those people. Because, the one thing, and I'll always tell my clients, buyers or sellers, that this is about you. This is not about me.
And it goes back to that first impression of, I can get real estate. It's easy, flexible. I can sit at the house all day and somebody's just going to.
No. We did the virtual, firms and things like that. And at the end of the day, if you're not surrounded by people that are, motivated and, basically like-minded people, you're not going to be in it.
I happen to think that way too. And, but that's always that I hear from successful realtors is, and this isn't to our agents here, call maker, get in the office or anything, but it's, get in the office.
Yeah.
I've time after time when I talk to anybody and I ask them, what tips would you give a new agent? What would you do? Where did you go wrong when you went wrong? And everybody says the same thing. Be in an environment where you can grow and learn and know the business.
Yep. Nothing more motivating.
You started real estate what year again?
2019.
2019. Pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
Like pre-COVID. Before it happened.
Yes.
Talk to me about like the you said 6 years. So 6 years you've been in real estate now. I think we've seen probably 4 or 5 significant market shifts since then.
I agree with that.
Sometimes these market shifts. Well, one thing that I'll say as a disclaimer, that a market shift is inevitable in real estate.
Yep.
It will happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen for several years. Sometimes it can happen every month. So in I don't think it's a short time, but perspective wise, in your short time in real estate, you've seen a couple market shifts. Walk me through those. And then walk me through how you adapted to them. Why are you still here today? Why did those market shifts not put you out of business?
So when I first got into real estate, the market was more of I want to say maybe a buyer's market. We had we had no concern about not having inventory. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, people were getting multiple offers on things that were under $100,000. So I knew if I was like in that $100,000 to $120,000 price range, it was going to be multiple offers. And I hated that price range at that time because I'm like, oh my God, it's going to have multiple offers, and I'm like, dang it, And then
when multiple offers started again, for reference, I've been in real estate since 2010. Multiple offers weren't a thing. Like they weren't a thing. Like people could go home and sleep on it and think about it.
Oh no, you can't do that now.
Spent some time negotiating. So I remember when multiple offers came up, it was like, whoa, this is stuff we used to hear about.
And when I say multiple offers back then, I'm meaning like 3.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not meaning anything crazy.
3 on maybe this awesomely priced home in the right school district at the right time with an in-ground pool.
Maybe
it had a lot of things that made it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and at that time I was just like, oh God, here's the $120,000 price range. Here we go.
Yeah.
Because you automatically knew you're going to get multiple offers. But then when COVID hit, we had that little lull because everybody was scared to get out and things like that. And then the interest rates dropped. And then we were seeing offers from, just crazy offers before it would even go on the market. It would go coming soon. We were getting multiple offers. These houses were going $20,000, $30,000 more than what people were asking, sometimes even more, sometimes crazy stuff. And then we had the amazing, the addendum for the appraisal addendum to come out. And that started we're like, oh my God, what is that?
Pause, let me give a little reference real quick. So generally, Fayetteville market is a VA heavy market. Yeah. When I say that, 42% of our closings are VA. And then we have FHA after that. And then, you've got the conventionals and cashes and USDAs. So historically, we have a document called FHA VA financing addendum that protects that buyer from a low appraisal, basically.
Yeah.
In some not legal advice, but in some, basically, if you use FHA, VA appraisal, which you have to with those loan programs, if the appraisal came in low and you chose not to pay the difference in cash, then you could get your earnest money back. And you might lose a due diligence deposit, depending on the amount, or an inspection cost or something like that. But you would never have been forced to purchase the house. So what she's talking about is the appraisal addendum, which basically came out and waived that protection.
Yeah.
It said, I will buy your house no matter what, basically.
Yeah. It was awful. I mean, I don't know who came out with that, but it was terrible. But the reason that they came out with it is because people were offering like $50,000 more than the asking price, knowing it was not going to appraise. And then the sellers are like, wait a second, that's not what you offered.
Yeah.
You offered me this. This is what I want.
Yeah.
You know, so I get why it came out, but people were taking advantage of it, which is the reason we can't have nice things, right? So, you know, so, and before COVID, the due diligence money, I was doing 200 due diligence, 400 earnest. You know, I thought that was just like, you know, when I went up to Raleigh and touched a couple houses in Raleigh, I was like, $1,000 in due diligence, you people are mad, you know?
I remember when it first came out, due diligence deposit came out, I was in real estate and I was selling, and it was the rule of thumb, and of course every deal is different, but the rule of thumb was $100 per week of due diligence, which is on average about 2 weeks. What you say? So we were writing $200 due diligence deposit.
A beautiful thing.
And the rest was earnest money.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, that's been an evolution. And just this morning we do an average due diligence deposit here. Just this morning, it's $1,700 now, and this is post-COVID.
And that's post-COVID. During COVID, when the market started getting crazy, and you had people lined up down the road seeing one house, due diligence money rose up to $5,000, sometimes $10,000, $15,000. Now, I didn't, you know, I don't. That was, you know, those was getting crazy because it gets very dangerous. And I feel like, you know, those due diligence fees, I about had a cow and I had somebody offer a $5,000 due diligence. And I'm like, wait 1 second. Let's think about this, you know?
A story, you know, with Coldwell Banker, there's like a networking group, and we get together and have our own little conventions and stuff. I was at a manager's retreat in Southern Pines for all the other managers around the whole Coldwell Banker Vantage, Seacoast Vantage family. And one of the competing managers, which means that she sells houses too, we were talking about this very subject, and I think she was up there by the Virginia border, and she wrote a $1 million due diligence deposit. The sales price was $1 million. And I got sick to my stomach even thinking about it. I was like, oh my God. Because for reference, that is a non-refundable deposit.
Yeah, you taking it.
That's
it.
But we saw some spikes here. You know, I think the biggest one I saw here was 50,000.
Yeah.
Due diligence.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, there was times where I was driving down the road to a showing and I see cars lined up, and so I call my buyer and I'm like, not it.
Yeah, cars.
We're not doing this today. Yeah. Let's, you know, are you good with not seeing this house? They're like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. Because they were getting offers in COVID of, you know, multiple offers during COVID was like, you know, 30, 50. Sometimes even more. Yeah. I mean, so how are you going to stand out? You know, there's no way that you can unless you do something insanely crazy. You know,
well, it's high due diligence.
High due diligence.
Appraisal addendum.
Yeah. I'm not going to do an appraisal, or I'm cash. You know, it's just crazy. And then once the interest rates started going up, we started slowing down, and before I go there, the inventory got down to like something crazy. It was like, I think it was down like to 2 something at one point. We're like, oh my God, it went from over 2 or close to 3 or something like that.
For more perspective here, I very well remember that too. Pre-COVID, I think an average inventory level for the greater Fayetteville market was like 3,500 to 4,500 homes, 3,500 to 4,500 homes. COVID at the peak, because this is a perfect example of supply and demand, right? So during COVID, I remember that when you open up your MLS search, it tells you current numbers at the bottom based on the criteria you put in. If you just put active Fayetteville area or our MLS area, it got down to 200 and 300 homes. Yeah. And it was scary. Because
it was very scary.
What are we going to sell?
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen anything. I've never seen it that low as it was there. Yeah. But now we're building up. You know,
yeah. As of today, this is September 11th, as a matter of fact, 2025. And this morning we had right at 2,400 homes.
So, yeah. I mean, we're building up, and Due diligence has calmed down. Multiple offers have calmed down, except for like certain price ranges. And even those price ranges have calmed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that we did during COVID and during these shifts in the markets is setting expectations to our sellers and buyers. Hey, the houses are going to sit longer right now. They're just sitting longer. People are waiting. People are watching these interest rates. And during COVID, hey, we may end up having to do 10 offers to try to get one under contract. But as soon as it pops up, we need to go. You need to be ready, And so I think the biggest thing with these market shifts and how the market has changed so dramatically over the last couple of years is setting those expectations and be very, very clear and upfront with your buyers and sellers.
That's great advice for anybody, anywhere,
in
any market. Be upfront and honest with
you. Got to.
And I think, though, we work on a lag, though, with our clients. I think our clients' information that they receive about their offers or their listing when they're listing their house, I've always thought there's been a lag, right? So I feel like we're talking to people now, and some people are still, for lack of a better term, still stuck in COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking I can get higher for my house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's very difficult to try to explain to them, hey, this is too high.
We're in a spot right now.
Yeah, we're in a different market. Average days on market's between 60 and 90 days, if not longer, depending on the location. Location matters, price matters, all the things.
Yeah.
We have to set this up to where, we have our best foot forward, professional photos, all the things.
Out the gate,
because those first couple of days matter more than anything else. And the longer it sits on the market, you're going to end up getting lowball offers. You're going to be getting multiple offers with closing costs, all the things. But, for some agents, especially new agents, I would say it's very difficult to set those expectations when if you're not aware of those expectations yourself. So being with the right firm and the right team, you learn these things, and you learn, like in your meetings, where the trends are, and you get the information and things like that. So then you can send it, talk to your people about it, because even with buyers right now, buyers think, oh, I got weeks to think about it, and sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. You know what I'm saying? So, I just had a showing today, and the dang thing went under contract before I could even get out there and show it, and this is not one of those prices, the houses in the price range that go fairly quickly, it's a, higher price range. And so I'm like, well, that sucks.
Still not time to play around.
Still not time to play around, so buyers don't necessarily have all the time in the world like they think they do. And sellers don't have the ability to sell their house for like $30,000 more than it's worth anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because people are thinking longer. Buyers are trying to think extra long. It's a two-way street, and you really got to focus on setting those expectations.
Okay. That's fantastic advice. You can tell that you've cut your teeth.
A bunch.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of mistakes. Yeah. I've made a lot of mistakes being a team leader. I've made a lot of mistakes being an agent, and I've paid dearly for those mistakes.
I always say I fail every day.
Yeah. As long as you make it right, and you own up to it, and you do what you need to do, and tomorrow will be a better day. So.
What do you think today? Right now on September 11th, 2025, what do you think as a realtor, as a team leader, just being in business period, what do you think is like the biggest challenge you're facing?
The market currently is the biggest challenge for me. This market this year, everybody said last year was the hardest year they've ever had. I feel like this year has been like very inconsistent, because I feel like I've always been like this.
Yeah.
Right. And this year has been like really, really low lows, really, really high highs, and really, really low lows. So it's really weird, this market.
I heard that same thing out of a top producer yesterday. Again, for reference, a lot of people smarter than me are saying 2024 was the worst real estate market they've seen in 30 years for people that have been doing it for a while. Firm owners, things like that. 2024, worse than 30 years. But I've heard from multiple people now that 2025 has been rough.
It's been a rough year. Like I said, we had the really, really high highs and the worst lows I've ever had as a real estate agent.
And I certainly don't think 2025 is over yet. We have another quarter, and we're hearing a lot of interest rate stuff. And a lot of people get very attached to the interest rate. And that's the basic, they want to point at that one thing on that's why the market's good or not. And I agree, it has a very strong effect, but I think there's more to it, like inventory and social issues. But, we're hearing a lot of talk right now about rates again.
Yep.
And rates are trending down, and the Fed decision coming up again. Do you think that if the Fed goes and drops the rate and that correlates to mortgage rates, do you think that's a game changer for us?
I'm hoping it will be. I hope that people will start like, oh gosh, let's hurry up and get these houses, and creates a little bit of a buzz. I don't think we're ever going to see 2.5 and 2% anymore for interest rates. But if we can get them back down to like 4.5, I think that's a good area to kind of be, go back to the market being like this instead of way down here or way up here.
I mean, rates could go down, but inventory could go down too.
It could.
And that could be another chaotic situation.
It could, because I do think there's people waiting on the sidelines for the rates to go down.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I think the market's going to crash because of the interest rates. And I'm like, heard that, so I try to, educate people a little bit about the market rates.
And sometimes we just, as much as we try to research and be in tune and know, there's so many times we just don't know. Like talking about COVID again, I always joke and I say, when COVID first happened, I was like, there's Walmart hiring, I say that probably in every video I do. But who would have thought that we'd been in situations where people are writing 50,000 due diligence checks?
Some of their words.
So who knows? I have advice for somebody in the business or about to get into business is to stay liquid, stay learning, stay in tune. If you're doing things the way you were even a year ago, you've got to change and adapt.
You have to. If you don't change and adapt with how the world is changing and adapting, then you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to talk to people, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
If you don't make the transaction about your clients, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So you might get a couple of transactions, but you are not going to get the people saying, oh, here's this person. I got another friend. Here, I got another friend. You're not going to have those people that love me, carry my card around kind of thing,
Yeah.
So it's all about how you treat people, and like you said, stay liquid with the current, trends that's going on, and just learn and be a sponge.
Okay.
Learn from whoever you can.
Let's get a little more personal.
Okay.
So you got a husband. He's also your team leader. He also does a lot of good stuff out in the community as well.
Yeah.
You got a son.
Mm-hmm.
How old is he?
Almost 16. October 1st will be 16.
Okay. So our conversation, we covered a lot today. I mean, we've talked about a lot of different things. And one thing you said is 24/7. How do you keep a family going and sell a ton of real estate and stay with the market and answer client calls? Like you said, some of them are 8 hours behind us. What's that like?
So when Zachary was born, I was one of these parents that for some reason, God help me, I was not able to remember to take his freaking diaper bag with me. I had to keep like a box of diapers, and I had to keep a box of clothes.
Oh my God, we got to go home. Forgot.
Oh my God, because it was just, I went to the doctor and I had no change of clothes for my child, and I had to basically wrap him up in a blanket because I had nothing with me. And so it was awful. So I'm one of those parents that I've made a lot of mistakes as a parent. My son is my only child. And, every day I'm learning, and every day I'm like, oh my God, I really screwed up on that one. Mom of the Year award, So in real estate, with me working as much as I do, my husband always tries to remind me, hey, it's okay to breathe a little bit, but I'm constantly, so I've really had to kind of like, listen to my husband and, make sure everybody knows that I'm there. Now I will forget dinner. I'm just one of those people. I'll get so involved. Like yesterday, I didn't even cook dinner until like 7.
Maxim's
because I was so involved. That
I forgot about you.
Hello,
Yeah.
Or Max will ask me right before he gets home, hey, what are we having for dinner? Not a clue. Because that's, I'm so busy, so sometimes it's really hard.
Well, I would tell all the husbands to high producing real estate wives that you got to step up too, though. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is Max. It's not in there. I love Max. But I mean, us sometimes if you're married to a high producing realtor, and you got to be adaptable too. Yeah. There ain't nothing wrong. I'm really good at ordering pizza.
Yeah,
I mean,
Max is too.
I can't make anything, but we got to, and I'm definitely not saying this is your household, but in general, I've seen a lot of, because, real estate's got a lot of professional women in it.
Yeah, it does.
And these ladies, historically, culturally, are relied on for dinner and things like that. We get a whole discussion about family roles and stuff, which I think, that mold has been broken. Like,
It was broken years ago.
but Maxwell's got people that are like, hey, you're the woman of the house. We need dinner.
Yeah. The only person that looks at me for dinner is my child. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't get it. I've always, he always knows that, hey, mom's got a plan, but even though I'm on the computer and I'm working, I still, I'm still focused on what's happening in the house.
Yeah.
I got a 16-year-old coming up, but every day without question at 3:30, I'm leaving and go pick him up,
Yeah.
No matter what I'm doing.
That's the flexibility I think that we have that people don't understand and overestimate.
Yeah.
The flexibility isn't, I don't feel like working today.
No.
You got to plug in and you got to push every day, whether you do it from home or from your office. You got to continually drive the boat. Otherwise, it will go off in the middle of some ocean somewhere. But that's the flexibility that people don't realize that we have is I might be working a lot. I might have to go show houses at 6. High five my husband or wife. They take the kids and I go show houses. The flexibility is I can make that time to spend quality time with my family. I can make sure I don't miss an award ceremony at school where people that work W-2 9-to-5 jobs sometimes
it's different.
Yeah.
And with me, everybody says, "Oh, why don't you just let him ride the bus?" Why not? Because October 1st, he's going to be 16 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to be driving himself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be wishing that I had more time to take him and pick him up from school. Because that's our time that we get to sit down and on the way home, he might be irritable, like I don't want to talk about it, like 16-year-olds are, but he tells me about his day and we'll just kind of, BS about that. And that's our sacred time together. In the mornings, he's cranky. He takes that after me, unfortunately. And, we pat each other's necks, not in morning persons at all, but, that's still our time. And I know here in just a very, very short time, it's going to be coming to an end and I'll be in the office longer in the afternoon. But as of right now, I've always taken him to school and I'll always pick him up.
I definitely relate that. When I started real estate, my daughter was a baby and, I just remember, Kelly as a teacher would go off to work early in the morning for school and it was me and JJ time and little JJ. And then, I had great support channels. So I'd take her to, daycare or my folks' house during the day. But that was always a very special time that I had with her in the whirlwind of getting started in real estate.
And, when I was in law enforcement, I didn't have that ability to do that. Because I was working Monday through Friday, sometimes getting called out. And sometimes I couldn't take him to school. Sometimes I couldn't pick him up. I had to rely on other people. That sucked. So, I made it a point these last 6-7 years to make sure that I took out that time because it was important not only to me, but to him. So he knows that unless something goes on and I have something that cannot be rescheduled, he knows that mom's going to be there to pick him up.
I hear, my parents tell me and our senior generations always say, you're young, you're a professional, you're cooking and moving and shaking and doing all this, but don't forget these times will pass too. And I try to remind myself as much as I can that, there will be a time I look back and be like, man, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I try to have had very wise people tell me, enjoy it while you can. And sometimes that's hard to do.
It is.
But enjoy it while you can.
It's the same way about real estate. If you think about it, real estate and life are kind of like the same. You enjoy the highs when they're there and prepare for the lows. And just like raising a child, you enjoy the good times and just kind of get through the bad ones with them and pray to God the time don't move by too quick and you blink, because it moves by quick,
Well, Laura, you dropped a lot of wisdom today. I think we've had great conversation. I want to ask you one more on the spot trick kind of question thing, and then we'll wrap up. I want you to tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they're interested in getting into real estate market themselves, joining a team, being a team leader, put yourself out there. But if today you couldn't be a realtor, what would you do?
If I couldn't be a realtor, maybe go into teaching. I would never go back into law enforcement. So probably going into teaching or doing something like that if I couldn't be a realtor.
Okay. All right. Right on.
Well,
all right. So, guys, I'm Mike Solomon. I'm the broker in charge of Coldwell Banker Advantage. You can always get me at 910-476-6801. Lori?
I'm Lori Taylor, and I am a team lead with Taylor Group Realty, and you can reach me at 910-824